welcome back to my channel. My name is Jodie and this is going to be another weekly watches recap. So this week I watched a total of 9 titles and 8 of those are from DVDs from my collection, and then there's one Blu-ray as well. So I didn't actually watch anything like on streaming or anything this week, so all from the collection, which is really good. So yeah, I had a really solid week of movie watching. Some really high kind of scores I gave some of these movies. So yeah, really good week for movies. One or two maybe that I kind of wouldn't revisit, but other than that, yeah, really strong week. So yeah, without any further ado, I'll just get on and show you everything I watched. So for the first watch, I'll just show you both titles, because I watched like part 1 and part 2 of of a film series. So I watched Sicario, the first one, and Sicario 2 Soldado. So yeah, both these movies, I have to say I really enjoyed both of them. I think I have seen Sicario. I saw it kind of when it originally came out, maybe in 2015, and I remember really liking it, but it's kind of been so long since I've seen it that you know, I really thought it deserved a revisit. So yeah, I watched it this past week and it is just a fantastic movie. So it's basically set kind of around the, you know, the war on drugs on the kind of Mexican US border. And the first one is about this FBI agent played by Emily Blunt, and she's basically like kind of snapped up by this kind of elite kind of like an elite kind of task force who sort of have like different strategies in terms of kind of dealing with the war on drugs. And so she kind of has to kind of try to I guess kind of deal with her morals, and you know, she's kind of taught to deal with things a very different way. So when she kind of joins this task force, like, it's a completely different way of doing things, and she kind of doesn't agree with the way they go about things. And on the task force then is the character played by Josh Brolin and by Benicio del Toro, and they're all just absolutely fantastic in this film. And I think what's like really remarkable about this film for me is just the cinematography of this is just absolutely sensational. Like, it is just a really beautiful film to watch. And kind of by beautiful I mean like there is a lot of very kind of dark scenes, you know, kind of some disturbing things that they see when they, you know, go into Juarez in Mexico, and kind of see some of the things they see on the border and that kind of thing. But just the way that the film is shot is just absolutely fantastic. It's just a really well made film. Of course, Denis Villeneuve directed the first one, and yeah, it's just absolutely beautifully kind of shot and directed film. And then the score in this is just absolutely fantastic as well. I just really love a good film score, and yeah, the film score in this is just, it's just the perfect amount of music to kind of I don't know, just kind of to build the atmosphere and to kind of build a sense of kind of dread. And yeah, it's just, you know, it's a very subtle score. Like, it's not maybe something that you'd listen to kind of, you know, on a day-to-day basis, but it just really fits this movie so perfectly. So yeah, Sicario, absolutely fantastic movie. Went into the second one. I had never seen this one before, but I was really surprised at how much I also enjoyed this one. And I just thought they took it in a really good direction and kept it very loyal to the first film. So if you've seen this one and you haven't seen the second one yet, and you did enjoy the first one, I would definitely recommend this one, because yeah, as I said, it stays very true to the original. It's not directed by Denis Villeneuve. This is directed by Stefano Sollima, and but it's written, I think, by the same, yeah, it's written by the same writer. And again, it stays very true to that kind of beautiful cinematography, and also the kind of score and everything in it as well is very similar. So it feels like a very cohesive kind of series of films. And yeah, the story in this one is really good. There's some great action and everything in it as well. So yeah, Sicario 1 and 2, I would definitely highly recommend these films if you haven't seen them. They're just absolutely fantastic, and yeah, I just really enjoyed watching both of these this week. So next, kind of sticking on a little bit of a disturbing theme, I decided to watch this movie that has been on my radar for, I'd say it's been on my radar since I was a child, but I've just never gotten around to watching it. And it is this movie, Flowers in the Attic. Now, this is based on a book, I think, that came out, maybe it came out in like the 70s or 80s, and I think at the time it was like a highly controversial book because of this kind of some of the subject matter that was in it, just kind of some of the subject matter of abuse and neglect and incest and all these kind of different themes that were sort of that were in the book. And so this film, based off the book, is essentially about these four kind of children, kind of varying ages, who their father passes away, and so kind of instead of kind of being left destitute, I guess their mother makes the decision to move back in with their grandmother and grandfather. And yeah, this grandmother in this movie is just the biggest bitch on the planet. The grandmother in it is played by Louise Fletcher, who we all know can play like a fantastic, just total bitch. So she is just the worst woman in the world. So I don't want to give too much away about, you know, what happens if you haven't seen it, but you know, what happens is really just kind of one horrible thing after another that happens to these children, and you know, you just kind of find yourself just more and more in disbelief of just how horrendous, you know, these adults can kind of behave towards the children. So it's definitely a shocking watch. You know, it's kind of done, it's kind of feels like a TV movie, but it feels like, you know, like a decent TV movie. It's not kind of unwatchable or anything. It's done very well. It's not, probably not the highest budget movie, but I still think it was quite effective in terms of what it was doing, and I think the performances and everything were very good, especially Louise Fletcher. She was just really fantastic in this, and the two older kids in this were very good as well. Yeah, so if you're in the mood for something that's just, you know, a bit disturbing, some kind of shocking scenes in it, and something that's just kind of relentlessly like awful, just bad thing after bad thing kind of happening. Sometimes it's a little bit kind of far-fetched in terms of the things that go on in it. You know, you kind of have to suspend any kind of sense of maybe realism going into it, because it's not that kind of thing. Well, I mean, maybe there has been, you know, people in similar situations to that, but it's just so dreadful, and the abuse that these children go through in it is just so horrendous that you'd like to hope that it doesn't kind of happen in real life. But yeah, it is a really interesting watch. As I said, it does have a very TV kind of movie vibe to it, so if you can kind of get past that, if you don't mind that too much, then maybe you might enjoy it. And yeah, it's definitely a really interesting watch, so I'm really glad that I finally kind of checked this one off the list. So yeah, Flowers in the Attic was the next watch. So next is a Robert Altman movie that I wanted to see for so long. I know it's actually on YouTube, but I just really wanted to get a physical media copy of it, and it hasn't been the easiest to track down. But I recently found a copy. It's a US import region 1, and I got it on, I think I got it on eBay maybe a couple of weeks ago. So yeah, I was just so delighted to find it and finally check it out. And it is this one, Come Back to the Five and Dime, Jimmy Dean. And this one just has just an absolutely fantastic cast in it. So you can see from the front, so it has Sandy Dennis, Cher and Karen Black kind of in like the main roles, but then it also has Kathy Bates in a supporting role as well, where she's very young and she's very good in it. So this is this is a really fun movie. It's based on a stage play, and I think that all of the women that were in it actually were actually in the stage play, all the actresses. So this film is set in kind of like a very rural area in Texas, and it kind of splits the movie between kind of the 1950s and then the kind of modern time in this, which is supposed to be like 1975 or something like that. So basically in the kind of 50s part of it, all of the girls are in this James Dean kind of like fan club, and they're all like totally obsessed with him, and they, you know, kind of have pictures of him all over the walls and everything, in this kind of store that they kind of hang out in. And so then in the kind of modern time, then it's basically about all these girls who they kind of get back together to kind of reconnect after, you know, I think it's like 20 years or so after James Dean passed away. and kind of from meeting up, then there's a lot of kind of drama that kind of ensues from that. So yeah, it definitely feels like a play. It's very much, you know, a one location kind of movie, except that it kind of goes back and forth between the 2 decades. And usually I don't like movies that are kind of flashbacks and kind of movies that are not, you know, chronological. Like sometimes that kind of just, unless it's done really well, it's just not something that I really like. I hate when you kind of don't know which time period you're supposed to be in. But this actually does it really, really well. They kind of do a good job at kind of separating the 50s from the 70s, so you always know kind of where you are, and it does work very well. And as I said, it still all stays in this kind of one location of this kind of drugstore kind of shop. So yeah, because this is based off a stage play, it's very, very kind of dialogue heavy. It's all really about the characters, and kind of how the kind of characters have developed, you know, in the time that's kind of elapsed between when they last saw each other. So it's all, you know, very much a movie kind of based on the performances and the dialogue and everything like that. So if that's not your cup of tea, then maybe this might not be for you. But I really, really enjoyed it. I just absolutely loved seeing, you know, all these actresses in action, and just kind of giving the performances. And there's a lot of very kind of upsetting moments and very, very kind of sad moments. I think anything that's quite nostalgic, I think can always have like a very, you know, kind of a hint of kind of sadness to it. So you know, when they're kind of looking back over the past, and you know, when they used to be kind of friends, and when they used to hang out all the time, and so there's a lot of nostalgia, a lot of yeah, kind of just opening kind of wounds that were maybe not kind of hadn't healed properly from the past and all that kind of things. So yeah, I think this is definitely up there for me in terms of all of Robert Altman's movies that I've seen so far. Yeah, I just think he's an absolutely fantastic director, and like I'm not one to kind of view things through like a gender lens or anything like that. I just can't be arsed with any of that, but I do really like how he depicts women characters, and you know, how he depicts females in his movies. I just find them like very relatable, and just, you know, very fun, and just very kind of realistic. And you know, he just kind of depicts them warts and all, and you know, shows the flaws, and you know, everything like that. And a movie, you know, another movie specifically that I just think he just knocks it out of the park with his like female characters is Three Women. That's one of my favorite films of all time, to be honest. It's absolutely fantastic, and just again, the characters in that are just so beautifully written, but just like so relatable to me. And I know people like that in my life, and I've seen girls like that, and I've been a girl like that, and you know, I just like being able to relate on that level. And I just think he deals with women characters so well. So yeah, I really, really like him as a director, and I'd be keen to kind of, you know, keep going on, you know, with his filmography and see as much of him as I can. But yeah, come back to the five and dime Jimmy Dean. I'm so happy I finally seen this movie, and I enjoyed it so much. So yeah, I'm so delighted to have finally checked this one off the list. So then next is probably the best movie that I watched all week. This was just an absolute treat. This was fantastic, and I'm not sure if it's a really, really well-known movie. I've kind of heard of it because it is an Irish movie, so I'm not sure how well known it is outside of Ireland. But yeah, I definitely want to share it with everyone because I loved it so much. And it is this one called Mickybo and Me. This was just absolutely fantastic. So just a little bit of background. This movie is set in the 70s. I think this movie is from 2004, but it's set in the 70s in Belfast, and it basically is about these two young boys, and one of them is a Protestant and one is a Catholic. So their kind of friendship is very, very frowned upon at the time, but they just like find that they just get along so well, and they find a real kind of kinship when they kind of bond over the movie Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. And that's another one of my all-time favorite movies. So I just there's so many references to Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid in this movie, so it is just absolutely incredible. So it's basically about these two boys. They kind of I guess as like a form of escapism, they kind of take on these roles of Butch and Sundance, and kind of go on this like adventure. And you know, it is set in the backdrop of obviously like one of the most, you know, horrific times in Irish history, but it keeps it so kind of light throughout the film. This is genuinely one of the funniest films I've seen in such a long time. It's absolutely hilarious, just the things they get up to. I guess the cultural references for me and everything I just find so funny. And I think this was like a particular treat to watch because I watched it with my dad, and you know, he usually comes up to me once a week, and sometimes I just kind of throw on something in the background. But when I put this on, like, we were just both so engrossed, and we weren't even like speaking to each other. We were just watching this and we were just laughing our heads off at all the jokes. And just everything in this was so funny. And I think it was nice because for him, I think he's 60 years old, so for him, like, it kind of felt like a lot of the references and everything were very like relatable. I mean, we grew up in the Republic, so you know, thankfully kind of he wasn't affected by, you know, some of the things that do happen in this movie, kind of in relation to like the Troubles and the kind of political you know, the political turmoil that was going on at the time in the north. But I definitely still think the cultural references were very strong for him. And even just the way that kids used to kind of play and interact and everything like that, I think you know, it was definitely kind of his kind of time. So I can see that he just enjoyed this one so much as well. And yeah, I absolutely loved it, and I really enjoyed the Butch Cassidy and Sundance Kid references. Like there was clips of the movie quite a few times throughout the film, and there's a lot of kind of a lot of scenes where they kind of reenact scenes from that movie, and there's a lot of references, and it was just absolutely fantastic, so satisfying. But then there is a lot of sadness to it as well. Of course you can't ignore kind of what's going on in the, you know, the background, but yeah, it was very sad but very satisfying. Really funny scenes. There was just honestly there was just so much to love about this film. Yeah, if you haven't heard of this, if you haven't seen it, I would highly recommend this one if you ever find it on DVD or anything like that. I've got this one in CEX not so long ago. I think I only paid €2 for it. And yeah, I just do not regret it at all. It was just absolutely fantastic, definitely the best watch of the week, and just one I can see myself throwing on again and again just because it was so much fun. So yeah, Mickybo and Me, absolutely spectacular film. So next I watched this classic western film that I've heard a lot about. This one has like quite a reputation for being like very controversial and very gory and everything like that. And so yeah, I watched Soldier Blue. Yeah, so this was a really interesting watch. It was not really what I was kind of expecting it to be, but it was very good. It basically centers on these two characters, Honus and Cresta, and they're played by Peter Strauss and Candice Bergen, who are absolutely brilliant in the roles. And essentially at the start of the movie, they kind of survived this big kind of attack, this very bloody kind of attack from a Native American tribe. And so they kind of have to go off in search of kind of refuge basically, and in search of water and resources and everything like that. So kind of most of the film is really about these two characters and their kind of journey, and them kind of getting to know each other and kind of the banter and everything between the two of them. And so I wasn't kind of really expecting it to be sort of like more of a romance, but there was definitely kind of more romantic elements in it, I think, than there was sort of very kind of controversial, you know, kind of bloody ones. But the actual kind of interactions and everything between the two characters are actually very interesting, and yeah, they're very entertaining. So yeah, I really enjoyed that aspect of it. And so then there is another very kind of large kind of scene of an attack, and it's it says the Sand Creek Massacre of 1864. And yeah, the scenes in that now are very graphic and very yeah, you can kind of understand why it was so controversial, because maybe before this film came out, maybe things like that weren't kind of being depicted at the time, especially in a western, and especially to kind of being shown the violence and everything that happened to the Native Americans at the time. I would imagine that was probably not something that had been seen really very much before. So this is definitely a very political film. You can definitely, you know, kind of feel the anti-war sentiment throughout the film. It's definitely not like a pro-American film. It's probably the opposite. So it's, you know, the character of the Candice Bergen character in it, she's a very like a very staunch kind of anti-war character, and she kind of makes those sentiments very known throughout the film. So yeah, it's I guess it is probably was, you know, pretty revolutionary for the time. So I know kind of even from like the kind of the late 60s onwards, like really did change the narrative in terms of kind of movies that depicted what were kind of thought of as like American values and kind of traditional, you know, yeah, traditional American values, and especially like in kind of westerns and stuff like that, you know, with the kind of the depiction of like the heroic kind of cowboy and all like that. That was all very much kind of changed in, you know, in the 70s and that kind of thing, and we kind of saw definitely a more nuanced kind of view of the West and kind of what happened there. So if that kind of sounds like your cup of tea, then, you know, if you're kind of maybe not as interested in more traditional kind of westerns, but maybe something with a bit of a kind of different twist to it, this might be a really interesting one to check out. I definitely found it really interesting anyway. And yeah, I kind of find it would be very difficult to watch this without feeling any kind of just shock or sadness, you know, towards kind of the treatment of the Native Americans at the time. So yeah, some of the scenes in it are very, very disturbing, but I think for the most part it is about these kind of two characters, and I guess the dynamic, I guess, between the pro-war and the kind of anti-war sort of you know, viewpoints, and how they kind of contend with each other. And yeah, it's definitely interesting. I'm kind of still processing everything in it myself. But yeah, I was very impressed by the film, and yeah, definitely one that kind of left an impression on me. So yeah, if you're looking for a western with definitely a big twist to it, and definitely kind of like a more I guess moralistic kind of approach to it, and you know, to kind of, even if you're interested in kind of facing into some of those kind of scenes about, you know, violence and everything against Native Americans, yeah, go into this one, go into Soldier Blue and see what you think of it. You know, it was definitely an interesting watch. Definitely you know, one that you'll kind of be thinking of for, you know, kind of after you watch it. But yeah, I'm really glad that I watched this one. And yeah, I'm sorry about all my waffling, but yeah, like as I said, I'm still kind of processing it and kind of trying to think about, trying to understand like my feelings about it. But yeah, no, definitely an interesting watch, and yeah, I would highly recommend it if it sounds like something you'd like to watch yourself. So then next is this is a title that I've had in my collection for a good while that I haven't gotten around to yet. So yeah, I just pulled it out yesterday morning and decided to finally give it a whirl, and it is this one called The River with Mel Gibson and Sissy Spacek. And yeah, this is another movie that was not at all what I kind of expected it to be. For some reason I thought this was like a flood movie, that they had to like survive this flood. But no, that is not what this movie is about at all. So this movie kind of basically is about Mel Gibson, who is a farmer, and his wife, and basically because their property has, you know, got flooded a few times, and they've been unable to produce. And so a lot of the farmers, because of their location, you know, and their proximity to this river, they're finding it really, really hard to kind of produce. So there is this other farmer who basically wants to build this dam, and so he wants to basically buy up all the farms by the river so he can build this dam to kind of irrigate his own property. And yeah, so the Mel Gibson character is just totally against that. He's a very stubborn character in this, and yeah, it's basically about kind of the fight against that idea, and the fight for them to kind of, I guess, to kind of push through all the kind of tough times that they're having, and to kind of make their farm kind of successful again. I don't know if that was like a good description, but that's what you're getting. So but yeah, it was okay. Like, I just expected it to be so much better than what it was. It's directed by Mark Rydell, and again, like, the cast with, you know, two main you know, cast members like this. And it has a John Williams score as well, and the cinematography and everything is just absolutely beautiful in this. Like, it's a stunning film to watch. But I don't know, like, I just kind of feel like it kind of just didn't kind of do anything for me. Like, it was not a bad film at all. It just I just kind of felt like it meandered a little bit without any kind of bit of purpose, and there was kind of some kind of story arcs that I didn't feel were totally necessary to like the main story. And yeah, I don't know, like, I just kind of felt like it was always just a little bit flat, and it never kind of got really entertaining and really interesting. So yeah, I don't know, like, yeah, I was kind of disappointed with it, to be honest. And I kind of felt like it was 2 hours long, so I actually kind of felt like that was even a little bit too long for this, and that they could have even shaved like 15-20 minutes off it just to kind of get it to be a little bit more concise. But yeah, I felt like it meandered a little bit, and just wasn't kind of as good as I guess the production value and everything would kind of suggest that it should be. So yeah, a little bit of a disappointing watch, but it was okay. I think I gave it 3 stars on Letterboxd, so you know, not the worst in the world, but yeah, it could have been a little bit better. But I'm happy that I finally got around to watching this DVD anyway, The River. So then last night I decided to watch I basically kind of wanted to watch like an old kind of classic horror movie. I don't know if this is much of a classic, but yeah, I'm not sure how many people have seen this one, but definitely let me know in the comments if you have seen it. So I watched this movie, The Bat, this one starring Vincent Price. And yeah, this was okay. Like, this wasn't too bad. So it's basically, it says it's a terrifying cult classic with a twist ending that you won't see coming. So that is true. There is a twist ending in it that I didn't kind of guess who the person was. So the movie is basically about this kind of killer that is going around kind of stalking women, and his kind of calling card is like the Bat. That's his sort of persona. And yeah, he basically starts kind of stalking this woman called Cornelia Van Gorder. So she's a mystery novel author, and she's living in this big beautiful kind of manor house. And yeah, the Bat kind of starts kind of stalking her. Then basically her character is actually bitten by a bat, and there's been all these kind of articles and everything in the newspaper that there is rabid bats going around and that people are catching rabies from them. So she's terrified of this, and then she calls in the local doctor, who kind of has more kind of information about this kind of this, you know, bat person, this kind of prowler. And the doctor then is played by Vincent Price, so that's kind of where he comes into it. So yeah, this was just very like average to me. I definitely want to kind of get more into these kind of classic kind of black and white horrors, because I really haven't seen many of them, but this one just didn't really kind of do it for me. I do think the scenes with the actual kind of prowler himself, like basically he's kind of wearing this like glove with these kind of long kind of sharp claws on them, and he's like putting his hand in through the window and in through the door and everything, and like that is creepy. Like, that was a creepy kind of image. And then there's these kind of images of him, kind of his shadow and everything in the darkness. Now that definitely would freak me out. But I feel like the lady in this was just not half as scared enough as she should have been. Like, if I seen those claws coming through my window, like, I would be absolutely shitting myself. Whereas she was just like, I don't know, she was just very, like, she was just not scared enough for me. Like, I don't know what it was, but yeah, I kind of felt like those images were kind of the best part about it. And then yeah, after that I didn't kind of get too much out of it, to be honest. So yeah, this was okay. If you definitely, please, if you have seen this one, please let me know what you think of it. It just didn't really kind of entertain me all that much. And now it is a short film. I think it's only like 80 minutes long, so it was actually grand, like it was a grand little watch. But yeah, it was just kind of a forgettable horror for me. But yeah, as I said, if you've seen this one, please let me know what you think of it and if you liked it. And yeah, please let me know some other classic horror movies that I need to check out, kind of maybe like you know, pre-1960 kind of horror movies. I know Marcus recently talked about in his video about The Haunting, which I also have in my collection, and I really, really want to see that. So I think that might be the next one that I watch. So yeah, if you have any other recommendations, definitely please let me know in the comments, and I'd be delighted to check them out. But yeah, The Bat was the next title that I watched. And so the final watch of the week is one that I actually just watched this morning, and yeah, this one was absolutely fantastic. So this is a title that I picked up on the Eureka Masters of Cinema series, and I didn't actually pick it up that long ago, but I think it just kind of came on its own, and I never included it in a haul. But it is this one, The Friends of Eddie Coyle, and yeah, I've just got done watching this, and this was just fantastic as well. I knew I was going to love this movie so much, and I really did. So this one is from 1973, and it is it's like a mob, kind of a mob crime drama, and yeah, it was really interesting. It was, again, just not what I was expecting it to be, but I was really, really pleasantly surprised at the kind of movie that it was. It's basically centers around this character of Eddie Coyle, Eddie Fingers Coyle, and he is basically an Irish mobster in Boston, and he's like a very kind of small time kind of mobster. He's not you know, he doesn't have like a whole lot of influence or anything like that, but his whole kind of thing is that he basically sources guns for use by criminals, basically. And the character of Eddie Coyle is played by Robert Mitchum, and this performance is just absolutely fantastic as well. It's just a really, really great, strong performance. So this movie is definitely different from a lot of other kind of gangster movies that I've seen, in that it's not like very action heavy or anything like that. There's actually not a lot of action scenes in it. It's more about the dialogue, and it's more about, I guess, the lifestyle of these characters, and you know, it's not kind of showing being like a gangster in a very glamorous way. In fact, it's like the total opposite. It's showing just the kind of like, I don't know, just like the very kind of mundane kind of aspects of you know, kind of being like a full-time kind of criminal, basically. And I guess the kind of panic and the I don't know, the kind of sadness behind it, because you're really, you know, you're really at the beck and call of all these other guys all the time. And kind of once you start getting involved in this like kind of organized crime, like your life is really not your own anymore. And this film kind of depicts that really, really beautifully. Like the way that the character of Eddie Coyle himself is kind of portrayed is really sad. Like I just did not expect to kind of feel so sorry for this character, but yeah, he's just kind of one of these characters that he's just like really pathetic, and you know, you can kind of tell he's very lonely. Like the title of the movie is just very ironic, because he really doesn't have any friends. Like the only people that he kind of, you know, talks to are other, you know, other criminals, other gangsters. And then after that, after like the deal and everything is done, and you know, he gets his way, then you know, he goes separate ways then, and he's kind of on his own. So I kind of, yeah, it's just a very kind of sad life, I think, when you're kind of caught up in this. And you know, I feel the same way about some of the other characters in it. You know, you kind of, yeah, I guess you just kind of feel for them in a way. I know they're doing something criminal, but it just seems like a very kind of, once you're in it, it's a very, very sad existence, kind of always trying to keep up with this. So yeah, definitely not the film I was expecting it to be, but just another just absolutely cracking kind of 70s, a really gritty 70s movie. And again, just not afraid to depict kind of reality, and not making anything glamorous. There's no bells and whistles here. It's all just very, very real, very raw. And yeah, I just absolutely love that kind of filmmaking. So it's directed by Peter Yates, and as I said, it's from 1973. And yeah, I would highly recommend this one if you haven't seen it. Again, don't, you know, if you're kind of looking for something, you know, a very action-packed kind of gangster movie, this is definitely not it. But it definitely gives like a different perspective on that kind of life of crime and that organized crime So it's, yeah, something very different, and something I found very, very fascinating. I love those kind of just insights into these kind of characters. So yeah, if that sounds like something that you might be interested to watch, I would definitely recommend checking out The Friends of Eddie Coyle. Really, really interesting movie, and yeah, I'm delighted again that I've finally seen this one, that I have it in my collection. So yeah, that was everything that I watched this week. And I'm sorry now if that was a very, very rambly video. I'm, like I kind of said, there's, a lot of really, really quality movies here in my opinion. So I think when you kind of watch really interesting movies, like, sometimes they take a little while to kind of digest, and you're always kind of thinking about different perspectives and everything. And especially now that I'm kind of doing these kind of videos where I'm, talking about movies that I watched, and I'm kind of trying to think about them and trying to think about the kind of bigger picture of these movies, and kind of trying to think about the meanings and all that kind of thing. So I'm definitely still, some of these movies are definitely still kind of sitting with me, and I'm still kind of digesting them. So if maybe I wasn't as coherent this week, I do apologize. But yeah, no, some really, really cool watches, and some ones that I would definitely recommend as well if you are interested in checking any of them out. But yeah, if you're still watching the video, thank you so much for tuning in, and yeah, I really appreciate you watching. And yeah, definitely leave me a comment, and any suggestions and feedback that you might have, or if there's any of these movies that you've seen or that you want to see, definitely please let me know. And yeah, I really look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye.